Good morning. This is the Successful Funding Show. I am Karl Dakin. I refer to myself as the Capital Coach because I assist small businesses, community projects, and other people in raising funding. And I do that as a coach, where I help design the capital campaign, work with my clients to help them understand what they need to do and how to do it, like a coach running a team through drills. And at some point, we get good enough that it's time to go after the funding. And I support and advise my clients through the process. And this is a role that I play and have played for over 40 some years. And this show is intended to share information about what I've learned. And I do that as I am this morning, working with guests who I've invited in who have a particular area of expertise to my audience and learning about how to raise funding. So with me this morning, I have Emiliano De Laurentiis with Knowledge Avatars. Emiliano has been a guest on my show in the past because we are working together to try to create some additional tools in the toolbox for those of you who are raising funding. And that's in the form of using advanced, artificial intelligence with avatars, which can serve as a just-in-time source of knowledge and information, like a continuous learning process that you can dip into as you need it, when you need it, instead of trying to work with a batch process where you're handed a book and you sit through courses for a long period of time and hope you remember something before you get done. So, Emiliano, good morning. Welcome to the show, and look forward to our conversation today. If you could share a little bit about yourself and Knowledge Avatars to give everybody a bit of a better background.
Good morning, Karl, and thank you for having me on your show. I think this may be a record, maybe like the third or fourth time I think that I've been on your show, and it's very much appreciated. Knowledge Avatars is a platform where people can create their own AI-powered tutor, advisor, or coach. So we have worked very hard at creating an environment that is not just personable and attractive and interesting for people to go to, but it also is trainable with your own knowledge, so that it isn't just in fact, we started this project way before OpenAI and Google and Amazon had large language models. The large language models is enhancing what we have started, but Knowledge Avatars has its own educational DNA. It was designed around the concept of having a good pedagogical system, and that is what we have. And I think that the test of time will show that we have something that people can actually learn from, and that teachers can teach with, or teachers from all, again, teachers or trainers or advisors or coaches. And we're getting a lot of interest from that.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into this with the specific application of using artificial intelligence and a application of that being an avatar in raising funding and in project management, which kind of crosses into two different approaches there. And so it'll get a lot of interest on that. I am currently building out yet another avatar on the Knowledge Avatars platform for the education program that I'll be presenting a webinar on Thursday this week. I think I have it here. Yeah, here we go. This is part of an education program to help my clients and people who are entrepreneurs, economic developers, other people who are out raising funding to get a handle on who they should be pitching to so that they can use their their scarce resources well to identify and pitch to those people who are most likely to invest. And we're kicking off this education program with a 4-hour webinar on Thursday this week. And viewers of this program are qualified for a discount off of the price. And if you go to my website on events, then this will get you to that special pricing. But working with Emiliano and Knowledge Avatars, and now with the advances that have been achieved, I am making the avatar kind of the centerpiece of all of my education programs. And part of the reason for this is that I can only put so much content, so much knowledge into a 4-hour webinar. And if I put in too much, then everybody accuses me of talking a million miles an hour, and it's hard to follow the presentation, and then you're saying, what did I remember? This is batch education, as I was referring to earlier. But with an avatar, you can stop at any time. You can take the recording from the webinar, and you can ask the avatar, what did Karl mean by that? Or what did that term mean? Or what's the definition? Or give me an example. Or even best practices of how would Karl go about doing that. And the avatar will have that information because it's been trained to have all the content that's in the webinar, in the book that comes with the educational program. And it's also going to have a variety of additional supplemental information over time. So it becomes a repository of the most wisest person on the planet, except for the fact they're artificial, but nonetheless, they're going to have everything I can train that avatar to be. And because it's available online via a smartphone or your laptop or whatever, it's available 24/7 for a full year from the webinar date. So through the end of the first quarter of next year. So I see that the avatar is the most valuable component of the educational program. We'll have the webinar, which will give people a chance to walk through this at the same pace and study the different concepts. And then there will be a book, like you would order a digital book that you could get off of Amazon. And that is one of the things we intend to do. And then I'm throwing in a half-hour of one-on-one consulting to try to address issues. So this total bundle is available. And if you're interested, you can still sign up through Wednesday, the day before the webinar, for this course. But it demonstrates and it shows that in education today, we were brought up at an early age where everybody got what I call generic information. Teacher would stand at the front of the class and tell the class what they needed to learn. And everybody was supposed to learn kind of at the same pace, the same information, and it was what I call batch information, centralized training, because you had to go to the school to get the education. Then you had to learn with a whole bunch of others who might be faster or slower than you in learning. And unfortunately, we all learn differently. Some of us are more visual learners as opposed to tactile or other learners. I learned late in life that I was more visual. And if I didn't have a picture, it took me longer to figure something out. I also learned that I learned differently than other people. And over my age now, which is getting up there, I have developed my own style of learning, which is, kind of drink from the fire hose, then aggregate, segregate, assess, and move forward. And not everybody learns that way, or it doesn't work for them. So this gives you an ability to, in some ways, customize your own learning by asking the avatar questions, getting answers as you move through your understanding. It allows you to stop, go back, go forward. And if you have other materials, then you can interact with those by saying, well, on page 55 of the book, it says this, but I don't get it. Give me an example. And so this complete approach that allows one to kind of be a self-guided tour of one's own learning of a particular topic, I think is a major step forward in how I'm going to be presenting my educational programs in the
Yeah.
future, where everyone will be centered around an avatar. Not that the avatar is a genius, but he's totally accessible, he or she, if you want to attribute a gender.
Yeah.
And they will have all the information I have and can make available to them. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a big deal, and I'm looking forward to moving forward with this particular program. Before
Yeah.
we get,
It's a whole change. It's a game changer. But I'm sorry, you want to say something?
yeah, I
I'll
want to
continue later.
go to our audience, and this is a live program this morning, and Zach Dakin is in the audience this morning. Anyone who's watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook can make a comment or ask a question, and we encourage you to do so. This show is for you. At the end of the day, we're going to try to talk about topics we think that will help you in raising funding. And so, if you have a question as we go along, please put it in the comments section, and we'll see what we can do to answer that question for you. So, Zach, good morning. Thanks for being with us on the show. So, yeah, Emiliano, please comment on my comment about where you see the future of education going as it is applied in real time to real situations. So we're moving from what we commonly call the academic or the abstract removed objective to I've got alligators up to here and I need to deal with the problem right now, right here today. How do you see your platform and your avatars helping the average business person, the average leader,
Um,
with this kind of instant access, all-time knowledge?
yeah. For one thing, I want to say, Carl, we've known each other now for a few years, and we've been working on various projects together. And I learned a lot from you about identifying the right investors, identifying sources of revenue, and managing the business. And even though I've had several other businesses before, I took a company public. I've had many large investors, but it was always one of the issues in my past was that I lost control, and I lost control because the investors came in, and of course a lot of investors sometimes feel that they because they put in the money that they now control the company. So that was one issue that I had to deal with on a regular basis. The other one was the pressure that investors put on you to meet their goals, which very often, well, maybe not very often, but sometimes don't mesh with the goal of a startup, where you want to improve your product, improve the quality of your offering, get the most number of people on board. Think of Amazon, for example. Amazon, how many years were they in business before they made a profit? And they had the resources and the wherewithal to go with that program until finally they were able to make a profit. And so I learned a lot from you, and it reminds me of what Socrates said in the philosopher Socrates, not the philosopher Socrates, and he was very much against books, and he disliked books for a very simple reason, that once you have a book, you no longer have contact with the author. You can he liked the Socratic method was that you could converse with the author and have a conversation with that author and debate the issues of that particular book or that particular body of knowledge. And that was the reason he said that books were not a good idea. And of course, with industrialization and our educational system, we focus a lot on the book, and very often teachers, they just teach by the book. That's become a thing, right? And or teach to the test, which is even worse than teaching to the book. And that is what has happened over the last whatever 100 years, 200 years, and so forth. Uh, so I think that what AI brings to the table is the opportunity for people, for many millions of people who will read your book, hopefully, who to converse with your knowledge, with you. You may not be there available because you only have so many hours in the day. You're already overwhelmed, but but if you have an AI that you've trained with your own content, with your own knowledge, now people can converse with your knowledge and actually ask more deeper questions. What did you mean, Karl? Please explain this in more greater detail, and 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 uh, and have that conversation. It may not be perfect. It may not be as good as talking to you, you know, but it's better than just sitting there with a book and trying to understand, what the hell is he saying? What did he mean here? Or try to put together the pieces, because the AI is very good at inferring information. It's very good at taking bits and pieces and bringing it all together. In fact, it's amazingly good at it, and that is one of the features that we have been able to add to our system. And we started, like I said, we started Knowledge Avatars around 10 years ago, and this is OpenAI has given us the ability to have an engine that allows us to be much more flexible in the queries, the kind of questions that you can ask the system. So with Knowledge Avatars, AI is being used today to do transcripts of seminars, and that was one of the things that it just occurred to me recently that there are so many courses, people are doing so many courses, and learning management systems have been used a lot in creating asynchronous courses. But we don't. I think we're going to be going away from LMSs because it takes a lot of effort to create an LMS and learning management system. And I think what people are going to be able to do is do a live class like you will be doing, use AI to get a transcript of that class, upload the transcript to Knowledge Avatars, and now you have a bot that knows everything that has been discussed in that Zoom call or whatever that synchronous call, and it can answer questions about it and help people learn more
Right.
effectively.
So yeah, it's hard sometimes, not sometimes, it's hard all the time to explain um, all the potential benefits of moving from batch education to custom education. And because the batch is from the teacher's or the instructor's point of view, where they are trying to communicate information of value at a level that the person can hear, see, and apply and gain value from the fact that they have now improved their knowledge base. But the instructor is dependent to a high degree upon who's listening, who's being instructed, and it can vary greatly. It's been one of my challenges is in any presentation like one I'm doing this morning. I'll be doing a guest lecture at the University of Denver in their entrepreneurial finance course. And I'll be working with a group of students that may have little or no knowledge about finance or entrepreneurism or anything else. So we're talking about starting at what you might otherwise consider as ground zero. The thing is, what I've found interesting through my career is that I will often work with entrepreneurs who've been out there in the field doing stuff and to some degree successful, and they think they know everything about how to raise funding because they did it once before. And everything locks in their brain. Well, that's the way it worked the first time. This is the way I need to do it the second time, without understanding that there were a number of variables at play that allowed them to be successful the first time, which are not present this time. And trying to follow the prior path through the process might actually cause them to fail. It might actually be the worst approach to raising funding. Working with an avatar is in some ways a reflection of yourself. So you ask a question, and the avatar is going to kind of give you back the answer you need based upon what you asked. And as you described it, we can add continuously information to this, but every time somebody asks a question of the avatar, it is actually retraining the avatar itself by the framing of the question and how it's asked and who asked. And over time, the avatar is getting to appear to be smarter because it's been asked enough questions that it can start to delineate. Well, I have 4 people ask questions about this, but they sound different. So there must be something different. And they're going to start trying to fit it better to the answer to the question. So one of the things I'm doing is I have CAP, which is what I call my public-facing avatar, which is on my website at dakincapital.com. And CAP is free for anyone to use who's watching this program or anything else. And CAP has all the transcripts from all my instant funding newsletters, from my shows in the past on the successful funding shows like this one today, and has been asked hundreds of questions since we got CAP set up and running. Now, what I'm doing with each of these education programs is I'm going to treat CAP like they're a 100 level educational program. And then I'm going to create another avatar that is a dedicated specialist on the topic of this course, such as investing, identification of investors. And in particular, we're going to be focusing on the concept of a funding soulmate. I believe that every opportunity, every business out there is unique. And in the same manner, I think that there may be someone out there who would be willing to fund this particular business because of their unique needs. And this matching is like finding your romantic soulmate. I'm talking about a funding soulmate. And so the avatar's name for this dedicated specialist will be Soulmate, and it will be available to anyone who participates in the education program, as I said, on a 1-year subscription basis. But Soulmate is going to learn everything that I can train up on how I go about finding that one or group of investors who have a need to invest because it's in their own self-interest. And that's what the course is all about, is we try to get into the whole mechanics of finding investor candidates, and then we break it down until we're talking about finding the one that should write a check, should do something. And this demonstrates, again, the difference in a general, blanket education for the masses and allowing the individual person to learn, study, and master a particular topic, and do it in a way where it is a self-guided journey to learn all they can learn. And the avatar, every time you ask it a question, is learning at the same time because of the asking of the question. This is all good from a general educational standpoint, but what I really wanted to talk with Emiliano about this morning is the use of the avatar in a funding project, a capital campaign. And so what happens here is, if you think about it, now that you take everything that you can potentially learn about how to raise funding, and now we're going to apply it to a specific business, a business that is going to go out and engage in a capital campaign. It's going to apply its own capital strategy. And at this moment in time in the life cycle of the business with the people who are managing the company, it has all these unique attributes, some good, some bad. If you're dealing with a technology that hasn't been verified or tested or certified or something else, then this company will appear to a lot of investors to be a high risk proposition, and they may automatically disqualify themselves from the potential group who could invest in this business. So, what we want to do is we want this avatar to have all the knowledge about the business, all the knowledge we can put into it about the industry that the business is in, the market, its competition, the customers, the benefits to the customers. And this will help guide putting together the design for the capital campaign. It will become a source of knowledge about the company, and it can also be used as a public interface with all the people who are hearing about the campaign, who may be investor candidates, who want to learn more about the company. And this is, again, we're moving from what we call a batch or one size fits all type of communication to one that's customized. And so when we start now talking about, well, let's use an avatar to achieve a specific outcome, which in this case could be funding, then what would that look like? What kind of information would you want to train into the avatar to both help you in putting together and conducting your capital campaign? And what else could we do then to make it a friendly, kind of a person who can answer questions of an investor candidate as we go along? So, Emiliano, if you could speak to the extent of what we could do to help train up an avatar and make it this not only an advisor to the business, but also what would look like an advisor to someone who comes on to this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about two possibilities here. One is that people just go to CAP, your knowledge avatar, and ask it questions that will help them improve their business or improve their capital campaign. So they can go to CAP and ask it questions like, give me an outline for a pitch deck, or what would be a great slogan for my company that creates natural herbal products to improve your skin. And so it could they could ask questions like that to CAP, the kind of thing that you could do with some other LLMs. And of course, some of the information that they get will be specific to your knowledge, will be based on your knowledge. So if they ask a question such as, "What should be the first thing that I do in writing my business plan?" It will probably say something like, because I know what you trained it on, it'll probably say something like, "You probably should come up with a good business model first, and this is what a business model is before you start developing your business plan." So, and that's something you may not get in the general AI model, but you get that when talking to CAP because it's based on your specific expertise. Now, so that is how a person can use CAP. They can come to it, as you say, you graciously are making it available for free, so people can access it and talk to it and get a lot of information that they would not normally have. But they can also go to knowledgeavatars.ai and create their own knowledge avatar, and start entering information about their business. What is they could train it on their mission statement. They could train it on their business plan. They can train it on their products, and which basically it's a matter of cut and paste. It's a very simple process, and then they could use that bot. They could talk to the bot just for themselves. They could say, "Well, okay, you know about my business, so tell me what do you think would be a good slogan for my business, or what do you think would be a good approach to market my business that sells herbal products for skincare." So that is one thing they could do with their own bot. The other thing they could do with their own bot is just use the code that we provide, and they put that code on their own website for the public to see, or for investors to see, so that now they have a bot that answers questions that the public can ask questions such as, so what do you produce? What is the quality of your products? How can I be guaranteed that your products are safe? If we're talking about a herbal product for skincare, let's say.
Yeah,
So
these days there's so many articles out there on food supplements where they have lead and heavy metals in cocoa and protein supplements and you name it.
yeah, exactly.
It's hard to stay on top of it all.
Yeah, so you can train it on the things that matter to you, and then and the bot will answer truthfully based on the information that you enter, but it will also access the general knowledge of that it may have garnered from the internet. It's not just the internet, by the way. It's usually so. I'm always testing these bots for misinformation, and I have not come across any example of misinformation, which is very good. And if you ask it questions that are that you believe in, for example, that some people believe in, like if I was born on March 17th in 1964, does that make me a smarter person or something like that based on some mythological system? It will say that has never been proven, and so maybe you should check with your doctor if you're
Yeah.
having any symptoms.
Yeah, so this gets into one of the things that is evolving is our understanding of how to best use an AI avatar. And
Yeah,
as we move through this, we're now breaking it out into what is a body of knowledge that is useful to the organization, which in this case, it could be the company, as you described it, the mission statement, the business plan, the cash flow projections, everything that the company has done could all be brought in and put into the avatar so that at any particular time, I could ask the question. I said, well, what's the employer identification number for my company? Because I have to fill out a form. Well, I can go rifling through, a database or try to find the original form from the IRS. But if I've trained this into the avatar, then all I got to do is ask, about that. Now, this may be information that I don't want to be available to the general public. And so we may have one body of knowledge that is internal to my organization, and we may have a second body of knowledge, which I call public facing.
yeah,
And this then requires that we have
two
two
bots.
avatars
Right.
and hang in there because we're going to get to 4 or 5 or more. But by doing that, we now have a body of knowledge that anyone in my organization can see and have access to, which is internal and may be viewed as confidential, maybe secret. We may get into layers of top secrecy, so to speak.
But just on that point, a second, Carl, I think it's important for people to realize that. So if they train a knowledge avatar, let's say knowledge avatar Joe and knowledge avatar Sue, and now you have Joe knows about the mission statement. You don't have to retrain it to Sue with the mission statement. You could just link to that piece of knowledge, and then so now Joe and Sue have the same mission statement. But Sue may be the one that you use internally, so you want to have cash flow projections there that is only available to your employees or to your
Right, right.
stockholders.
And in similar fashion, this soulmate avatar that we're developing now, it will be a specialist on investor ID, but it will have access to all the information that's in CAP. So CAP is like my public facing, public body of information and so on. But only the people who sign up for the education program will have access to Soulmate, but Soulmate will include everything that's on CAP. So by this definition, we have layers of information that are there. And you're right, I don't have to retrain Soulmate on everything CAP knows because it'll have access to everything that's in the CAP knowledge base. And same thing here, if you create a public facing information set, That's a base or a foundation, and then the internal information that you do not want to share has access to everything that you're sharing with the public, which can include the mission statement and things that you want them to know, or things that you've disclosed publicly in a funding campaign that may have been filed with the State Division of Securities or with the SEC. All those documents which are public, you can put them into the public document. That means then when you get to the internal documents, you've got access to those as well as access to the special information that you want to hold privately or in secrecy or in confidence. And so what this allows us to do is now we're building knowledge sets, but we're now thinking through who has access to this knowledge, where are the boundaries that might be based upon contract or upon intellectual property law, on privacy, or even HIPAA, which would be a regulatory standard. And so we may find ourselves where, we're working with these people here who are our customers, and we need to create yet another body of knowledge, which is highly restricted within the guidelines and standards that are set for maybe a doctor's treatment of their patients. And again, this becomes maybe a third avatar. That's only their patient notes or clinical notes that are put into that avatar that only the doctor can see, but that gives the doctor access to that. And then they have internal information that any of their staff can see. And then they have the public information, which says this doctor is a general practitioner. They've been in practice so many years. They have all these testimonials from their clients. And so we have layers of information that are all easily put into or trained into the avatar that are accessible all the time. So a doctor could be on the road and take a phone call, and say, on some kind of emergency for one of their patients. And they could then basically click through to the avatar with all of their notes for that specific patient and see those notes, knowing that that whole thing is HIPAA protected. And it's not generally available to the staff, and it's not available to the public. So what Emiliano and I have been talking about here, and we're working on a design for, is what we might call a project management avatar. And this has arisen out of my own work and my own needs as a person who works with a lot of other experts on a project by project basis. And what we've come to find is that in this fast moving world where one member of a project team is going west, the other one's going east, and we're not in the same time zone. And we're certainly not sitting in a bricks and mortar office, where we can simply walk down the hallway, stick our head in an office and ask a question. So having access to information on a project becomes its own challenge. And so we're talking about a project manager that's kind of like a command, control, and communication hub, where we can put information in of every flavor, of every type, on a high frequency basis. So any member of the team will always know where things stand. They can look at the latest document. They can know what's going on. So we can move more fluidly as a team with greater efficiency in doing what we do. So we're talking about designing an avatar that may be for that specific project, where we can put in all the notes that we take, and maybe any emails that have occurred, any documents related to this, any discussions amongst the team where we can throw in the notes, or we can get on a Zoom call as an example, record that call as it's taking place, take the transcript from the call, train it in a cut and paste into the avatar, and the avatar is immediately as up to date as anybody is. And if it turns out there's 3 people on the team and Joe and Sally have talked, but Ed's over here, in Germany at the moment. He's going, well, where are we at? Well, all he's got to do is ask the avatar for the project, and we'll be able to get back, the fact that Joe and Sally talked, and here's the content of that conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think those what you're talking about are agents, AI agents, and that is the next step in AI and all these LLMs that we're talking about. The idea, and privacy is an issue, of course, and that is going to have to be taken care of. But we have the tools for that already. We have. I mean, we're banking online, and we have privacy there. So I think that. That is that definitely is the next step where, and in fact, we can do that today. We haven't implemented it for the public yet, but we can already tap into databases and authenticate the information from that database, so that only information from a particular client comes in to the bot, and the bot knows all about that client. So we can do that today. We just have not made it scalable yet. And that's yeah.
There's coming a point where right now we're still doing some things manually, for lack of a better description, even though it's simple and it's quick. There's still a human involved in the process. But if you start thinking about it, as if you look at my instant funding newsletter, which I put out on LinkedIn Monday through Friday, this year I've added a section on available resources on the particular topic or lesson of the day. And I'm currently including articles that have been listed on Google Scholar and books that may have been published and are available for purchase through Amazon. And I'm looking to expand this over time. But I have a Google alert as an example. It's called an internet spider that can go out and collect every article that may be written on a particular topic. And I have one, for example, on community funding. And I can take every alert that I get from Google on that and cut and paste it into my avatar. So it's seeing everything that's happening out there in the world on this particular topic. And as a result, I can get tools that are looking for information, gathering information. I may still want to be the gatekeeper on whether that information is useful and valid and loaded into the avatar and training. But quite obviously now I have a massive capability of seeing, gathering, assessing information and putting it in one place. And I think that that's going to be a critical competitive advantage for anyone doing anything going forward, and that includes funding. As much of the funding I work with is at early stage and businesses at a point of scaling up. There is information in the marketplace. I get like 24 different feeds on the capital industry, from crowdfunding to VC to whatever. And VC funding's down. We just got the report on investment crowdfunding from King's Crowd that said that investment crowdfunding last year, 2024, was down 18% over 2023, which is a significant decrease for those who are looking into that way of raising funding. So from that, you can start seeing trends. You can start adding in all kinds of information, and this means that again, the avatar is a repository for a greater and greater amount of knowledge that still can be custom fit to your situation and constantly up to date.
Yeah. So, Karl, how do you plan to take care of the situation where, let's say, there's a person asks you, you're a bot, in one of your courses asked them a question and it's not answering correctly. Let's just it hasn't been trained on that particular subject.
Yeah, so there are basically three ways to get information. One is the information I've trained into the avatar. If it cannot answer a question out of my body of knowledge that I put in intentionally to give it specific biased information, then it will default to ChatGPT for whatever chat may give it. That if it can't get a good enough answer from that, then there's two ways they can get more information. One is I offer a free 15-minute consult with anyone. All you got to do is send me an email, and we'll schedule a 15-minute time to try to answer a question. And if we can't, if it's too detailed or requires more work, then we could enter into what we call a fee-based consultation, where we can spend more time on an hourly basis or a flat fee basis, depends on what the nature of the challenge is that needs to be addressed. So if you think about it, an avatar is never going to be able to give you the level and detail of the ultimate, which is an expert answering a question on your specific problem. Over time, avatars will get smarter, they'll get more information. But at the moment, us humans are still winning that war on we can be more specific. We can give you potentially better answers. We may be more creative in coming up with a solution to a question that at this point the avatars cannot achieve. So you ask the avatar. If you don't get an answer, then send me an email, ask for a 15-minute consult. If need be, then we can elevate that to a fee-based consultation.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me that we haven't come across this yet, but it's certainly a possibility. Let's say somebody wants, so let's say Acme organization would like to have all of your knowledge, but they want to train the bot with their information as well about the company. So we could have a bot, let's say, called Karl Prime, and that has all of your knowledge, and then their knowledge as well. So we could train it for the company, or the company can train it as well. We would just create a sort of a template bot that has all of your knowledge, and we would pay you a license fee for that knowledge, and then they would add their own. Then this way they could ask the bot questions like, based on our projections, what would Karl think about how to raise the next round of funds?
Yeah. In fact, we have we're working through a design right now to do this for franchise businesses, where a franchisor who wants to help their franchisees or prospective franchisees in raising funding, the proposal would be to create an educational program that takes everything that I've already put together and then custom fit it to that specific franchise. I'm working with Harvey Tuck right now on this opportunity, and we can use the example of coffee shops because that's part of Harvey's current work as a coffee shop franchise. But the franchisor is unique. They have their own way of doing business. They have their own history, just like any other business. They have certain things they do their way that no one else does. So we could take that body of knowledge and set it on top of the funding knowledge. So when we talk to a franchisee or someone who wants to be a franchisee and still needs more money for the franchise fee, now it becomes highly specific. So we could be talking about coffee shops. We could talk about that franchise and how it does business and how it communicates and conducts itself. And all this is on top of all the knowledge that's already been trained on with regard to raising funding. So it's interesting to see how many layers of knowledge we can add So this is as bespoke as we can make it. It's truly custom to a particular business, who they are, where they are, what they're doing, and yet can be a tool that they can offer then to either their customers, in this case to their franchisees, which are a form of customer to a franchisor. And at the same time, the franchisee may take this knowledge and they may want to, say, do a custom investment crowdfunding to raise money for their franchise within their neighborhood for whatever type of business they happen to be. So now we're at 4 layers of knowledge, which is all stacked together. And then this is where I think this whole thing kind of gets awesome. And maybe we approach the singularity. but,
Yeah,
uh,
right. You may
but
take
yeah,
another 3 or 4 years.
yeah, within the larger organization, we've talked about general public-facing information and internal information. We also see the potential for setting up an avatar for each of the employees or each of a project team member, so they have their own personal private knowledge, which is shared in some way with the organization. We can also set one up for a customer. So in the future, somewhere down the road, every participant in one of my workshops, I may provide for or give them an opportunity to create an avatar so that they can have their own body of knowledge about what I know that's being applied to their business within the goal of raising funding. So that avatar is following them at their pace of growth within their capital strategy. As they move from capital campaign to capital campaign, it will get better, smarter, and a more valuable tool for them to use just on funding, while also potentially guiding them maybe in some of their other larger strategy for their business or organization.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair. Fascinating.
So we've talked about all these different ways that an avatar can serve a purpose, but I think there's more out there. I think there's things that we are just now coming to appreciate on where an avatar can step into a situation. Emiliano and I have talked about reaching a point where you may have an avatar that is like a dedicated assistant in your business. I may have a receptionist. I may have a sales agent. I may have somebody who's a books and records person where I go, did we pay that bill to Joe's company last week? Yes, no. Where are we at? On cash flow. All these things that we try to carry around in our head, but at some point it becomes too much, and we're trying to be more precise. We're trying to be more accurate, more timely, and make better decisions. Because ultimately, as I see it, the access to the information is guiding us as humans on making decisions. Do I do something? Yes, no. Do I do it today? Yes, no. Do I do it this high or this high? Yes, no. And the avatar might suggest things that we say, yep, I'll just do that. Or it may give us something we're going, no, not yet. Good recommendation, but we're not going to go there, because at some point, avatars are still factually based, and they can't really derive what you would call an opinion, something that might take the form of a diagnosis or recommended treatment, but it can tell you what the 10 most likely treatments would be that you can pick from the list and decide which one that you want to implement.
Yeah, speaking of treatments, it's one of the things that I've been expressing in my blog some use cases for knowledge avatars, and one of them was a medical companion, and it's getting a lot of interest because it makes a lot of sense. Doctors don't have enough time anymore. The nurses don't have time to answer everybody's questions, and stress. The patient's stress is a very large factor. In fact, some studies recently talked about how the uh, uh, with the placebo effect is very real. And even though you know that you're getting a placebo, just the idea that somebody's taking care of you or trying to take care of you will change your outcome, which is a fascinating thing. So they did studies with people who had no change, placebo effect. They received the placebo and knew they were receiving a placebo, and then they were receiving actual medicine. The actual medicine, of course, was the most effective, but the placebo was somewhere in between, getting no treatment and getting treatment. So knowing that somebody's taking care of you and cares for you, it seems to be an important factor in the healing process. And if you had a bot that answers people's questions, makes them feel comfortable, and says, "Okay, this is what a blood transfusion is. That's why it's taking so long. Don't worry. It doesn't mean you have cancer." Things like that. If they had a bot that they can communicate with, that would ease a lot of their stress and probably result in better outcomes. So that
Yeah.
was
So
that's
another
something
example
that I put together. I used it myself.
is I'm working with Splish Naturals. Those of you familiar, I'm the chief operating officer for Splish, helping guide this company in bringing to market a number of pain relief products. And pain is very subjective. It's hard to describe, it's hard to quantify, and there are all kinds of things that may aggravate, relieve, or do nothing. So, as an example, I'll show this. This is a biofeedback ring. It's state of the art technology, relatively inexpensive, that Splish is bringing to the market, where
Mm,
if I wear this ring on my finger, I can collect 10 kinds of data on a constant basis about
mm,
my heart rate, all kinds of things like that. Well, the fact that that data is collected now allows me to create a better, more precise picture of who I am. When you go into the doctor, he says, "How do you feel?" That's a wide open question. And if you go, "I feel okay," because the pain quit an hour ago and I forgot about it, which is my typical habit on how I deal with pain. Instead of saying, "Well, yeah, an hour ago I was in agony, I was on my knees, and everything." But, once I got past it, then, oh, yeah, that's in the rearview mirror. I don't care about it. The doctor could say, "Well, I want to talk to your avatar." Your avatar has got all the information about you that's been collected on a continuous basis, and it can summarize this and give it to the doctor in a report, where the doctor, like looking at a chart in the hospital, could ask your avatar, "Well, how's Emiliano doing this morning?"
yeah,
And it says Emiliano is at 99% of his average, whatever, and good, bad, or indifferent. That's where he's at. And so you have this ability to collect information at much higher volume, that ordinarily you wouldn't do, because you don't have time, or the mechanics, or you don't have the time to assess and aggregate it. And these kinds of things can be added into a personal avatar for yourself. And so this is something that you can do. You can go and contact Emiliano. You can ask Emiliano about setting up your own avatar for yourself, either as an individual or as a business, as a member of a project, or something. And you can start asking yourself, how can I do better by having more information from different sources that either can help me or help the people who help me do what I'm going to do.
yeah. Yeah, I think with the medical companion, my goal here is to have clinics and emergency rooms. Not emergency rooms, but doctors' offices and hospitals give their patients access to more information and real information. It may not be their specific diagnosis, because that gets us into a whole other a set of legal issues. But at least but they can get generic information that is not easily accessible online via YouTube or Google, and this way it gives patients a sense of control and understanding what it is that is happening to them, and that's very valuable. I know we're at the top of the hour here, so I will let you
We do, yeah,
close.
we do have to run, but yeah, I see in the future that everybody's going to have a watch or a ring or something that's collecting data. And yeah, if they get wheeled into the emergency room, wouldn't it be nice for the ER doctor to have access to a whole bunch of information that might guide them in determining what's wrong, what to do, how to react to it? The ring, the data collection is one thing. Taking action on that data, as I said, is still in the human domain for the foreseeable future. But anything that helps you run your life, run your business, and in particularly raise funding, that's something I'm interested in. So stay tuned as we go forward. Emiliano and I are going to be pushing the envelope daily on how to use AI and avatars as a tool in our toolbox in the search for funding for everyone who's out there looking to raise funding for whatever particular project. So Emiliano, thank you for being with us today. We'll have this show is recorded. It'll be available on LinkedIn immediately after the show is over, so you can go back and watch it. And the transcript will be loaded into CAP, my general purpose AI, so that you could ask CAP about what did Karl and Emiliano talk about on January the 14th of 2025, and it'll be able to answer those questions for you. So thank you, Emiliano. Take care.
Thank you, Karl, for having me
over to the university to be a lecturer this morning. So we'll see you all next week on the Successful